Yo guys, what's going on? It's Catman227 here, and I'm back with some more Junkensteins Revenge, aka Gameplay Breakdown. And today we're going over Widowmaker, who's personally my favorite out of all of the Junkenstein characters that you can pick. For the simple reason, she does the most damage. I mean, she has the highest damage potential, considering she could pretty much one-shot anything except for the bosses, of course. But even then, she does tons of damage to the bosses. Although Cassidy's still a better option for taking them out, as I said in previous videos. But, Widowmaker is pretty straightforward, I would say. You take the high ground, which is where I am right here, or you could be on pretty much anything that's above the ground. So you could go where I'm at here. You could go where Junkenstein normally spawns and snipe backwards, although that's not really advised for the simple reason you want them to come towards you because the Zomnics are easier to shoot. Now your main targets should be those blue ones. That is pretty much your main target. The only reason I'm shooting these little brown ones right here is just because there's nothing really else to shoot at. But as soon as I see one of those, I go to take them out. And obviously, you know, headshots do one shot, one kill most of the time. So obviously hitting your headshots would definitely be very beneficial. Now the reason you want to shoot these, because there's tons of crowd control characters already, which is why you don't want to really shoot any of the Zomnics that are not the Zomberators, which are the blue ones. Just because there's so many characters who can take out these smaller ones so much more efficiently. But Widowmaker is still a viable option for crowd control as well, if you can land your shots. Aim is going to be massive. Rip tires, first priority. You should always, anytime you see a rip tire as a Widowmaker, stop what you're doing, immediately go for that rip tire. But it's going to be a lot harder for a Widow to shoot it because, like I said, the Zomberators are your main targets. The reason why is because they shoot. And you see how I'm taking damage. Every time Widowmaker takes even one hit point of damage, the rifle flinches, which you'll see that a lot. So, anytime you take damage as Widowmaker, this applies not only in Junkenstein's Revenge, but in Quick Play as well. When you take damage, you flinch, and it throws your accuracy off. So you always want to aim for those Zomberators because it doesn't throw your accuracy off if they're dead. So they can't shoot you. So as you can see, yeah, and then there is some knockback as well. I jumped off that platform. He didn't knock me off, but I really highly suggest that you try to go for the Zomberators more than anything else, just because of the fact that they do damage and they can actually shoot. Because normally I would say just let the other DPS handle it, but Widowmaker just has so much more viability because if you use her ultimate, which is the next ability that I'm going to talk about, because infrasight, a lot of people say that infrasight is not good in Junkenstein's Revenge, and that is simply not true because you can see what's spawning. Because obviously the enemies like the Zomberators, which are your main targets, and the Riptires all spawn behind the wall. So if you use your infrasight, you can actually predict where to aim next. So try to use your infrasight to spot things like Zomberators and Riptires. So the instant they spawn, you know where they're coming from. There's really no reason, like if you know a Riptire, like, because sometimes if you play this game enough, you'll memorize when certain things come out. So you'll be like, okay, well this is the time in the game where they throw a Riptire out. Let me go ahead and pop infrasight so that way when one does come out, I know where it's going to spawn and I can instantly shoot it and take it out. As opposed to the Venom Mine is just treat it like a grenade. Just yeet it out in the middle of the battlefield. Put it where bosses might spawn. It's not going to really contribute all that much, but it's still some level of damage that you should be utilizing. There's no reason to not use it, because it's still damage that, you know, even though it's super fucking low damage, it's still damage nonetheless. So just yeet it out. Something will eventually set it off. Now, another thing you need to be a little bit aware of is 9 out of 10 times you're on the high ground and you'll need to jump to the low ground for your healers to heal you, because they are not going to stop what they're doing and look up at you and spam healing at you. They're too busy looking at the front line. So what you need to do is jump from the high ground, get your healing, go back up. So wait until you have your grappling hook, then you jump down, you get whatever healing you need to get, then you grapple back up to whatever high ground you were at. And 9 out of 10 times, you'll land your shots correctly because you can kind of predict where the AI is going to go. But also sometimes the bosses, they kind of move like players. They move around a lot, they twitch, they move, they go all kind of crazy directions, so it's very difficult to land your shots sometimes. But I don't know. It comes down to practice, basically, where you just have to memorize the movement patterns of some of the enemies. I mean, the bosses are always going to move in a random pattern. That's never really going to change. But, yeah. So, what you should be doing is your only real main concern is riptires and zombirators. Now, when the bosses come out, like Junkenstein, like, don't be shooting at the hog unless he's the only boss on the field. But if you see Junkenstein, start shooting at him, take him out as quickly as you can, while the other DPS focuses on crowd control. But widowmakers should always be going after either mercies, Junkensteins, basically shoot every single boss, including Reaper and the Summoner. Just exclude Roadhog. Roadhog should be the last one you shoot at. Like, obviously, Widowmaker does a shitload of damage, so go for the bosses when they're on the field. Get them out of there. And then immediately go back to shooting the Zombirators and the Riptires. And then use your ultimate to predict where they're going to come at. Now, we are running a Baptiste here because I specifically told him to go Baptiste for the reason I wanted to demonstrate the ultimate usage. So Baptiste is really, really good with Widowmaker because what you could do sometimes is pop Baptiste's ultimate and put it up there on the high ground on that little platform that I'm currently standing on, and then you can use that to take out bosses or just one tap regular Zomnics. But it's mostly used on bosses. Like, if you see Baptiste pop his thing, then you might want to use it on bosses, because if you can land your headshots with shooting through Baptiste's damage amp, yeah, it's going to do a lot, and it's really going to help you in those later rounds. Now, Widowmaker struggles the most with scaling, so when you're doing endless, shit gets really, really hectic. So use the tips and tricks that I've shared with you in this video in endless, but be aware it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult when you start to get to those bonus rounds. Widowmaker struggles a lot, and you need to learn to quickscope as well. You know, wait till you get a 100% shot, get a headshot, then, you know, back out, quickscope, wait for 100%, shoot, back out of the scope, and just keep moving around. Because when you're getting shot at, like what I'm doing here, see, I have to drop from the high ground, okay, use the damage amp, and then he's dead. So you use kind of the strategies that I'm using here, and that's probably the most efficient way to do it. Although, don't get mad at yourself if you end up not performing exactly the way you need to perform, because she is very difficult. You do need to land your shots. You know, you throw your venom mine out just for a little bit of extra damage. Use your infrasight to give you an update on what the hell is even spawning. And then at that point, it's just aim. And if you have a Baptiste, which is my personal recommendation if you're going to run a Widow, is abuse the hell out of that Baptiste ultimate and just shoot bosses with it. But try to mainly focus on Zombirators and Riptires. That should be like your main focus. Anyway, if you guys have enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Later.